For this video, I'm going to decorate the album we just made, just like I had this sample. So this is the paper I'm going to use. I'll leave a list of all the products I used on my blog, but this is what we're going to make. Now you've got your album base. I usually make 4 or 5 at a time. Then I go back and decorate them however I want to. But at least this video will give you the measurements of the different papers that go into the folder. So for the outside cover, the front and the back, I'm just going to go through a list of different cuts in case you want to cut stuff ahead of time. I would really recommend going through the video first and just watching so you can decide exactly how you want to do it. But these are the pieces I cut. So for my outside cover, the front and the back, I have one piece of the gold foil paper, 2 3/4 by 1 1/2. This is going to be this intricate design on the base of the snow globe. A piece of red cardstock at 2 3/4 by 1 1/2. This is going to be the background of the snow globe. Garden green, 2 1/2 by 2 1/4. You can barely see these trees sticking up behind the white paper, but those are trees in the background that are going to be cut out that will go in the snow globe. Very vanilla cardstock, 3 inches by 2 3/4. You need 2 of these. One for the underneath the globe and one for the cottage scene. We're going to stamp that and color it. 2 pieces of red cardstock, 6 by 4 1/8. One's for the front and one's for the back. It's this piece right there underneath this designer paper on the front and the back. Then for the designer paper on the front and the back, whatever pattern you want. Now for this Toile Tidings, I used all of these at one point or another. The designs are very intricate. One side's red, one side's green. There's stripes, there's plaids, there's 3 different types of scenery. So you can just pick whichever one you want for the front. And I'm picking the green because it contrasts with the red. So you need 2 pieces, 5 3/4 by 3 7/8. Now on this one, you'll notice I did not sponge the edges. But I decided I would see how it looked with the edges sponged on this one. So I've been sponging my edges. If my paper is the garden green, I sponge with the garden green. And if it's the real red design, I'll sponge with the real red. The next piece we have are the stripes for the front and the back. Right here. You need 2, and if you don't want stripes, you can pick whichever paper you want. I picked the stripes. You need 1 inch by 6 inches to go along the left border, and then over here's the right border. For the spine, you need 1 piece of 6 1/8 by 1 3/8. We're pretty much going to cover up that spine. And I will show you the dies that I used to make this lamppost once we get to that point. Then for the little Christmas bliss, I thought it would be nice if I could find a stamp that said Christmas memories. I couldn't find one, but I thought this worked well. So it's just a piece of 3 3/4 by 1 1/4, and I stamped Christmas bliss on it. And that is from the Christmas Bliss stamp set. So that's the outside cover. I'm trying to keep all the sections separate so it's not overwhelming. Next is the inside front cover. So we have a piece that's 5 inches by 1 5/16. I used some designer paper. That's going to go right here at the top above this waterfall. Then there's a pocket back here. I cut my green cardstock at 5 1/4 by 3 1/4, and I'm going to round those corners before I attach it. I cut 2 pieces of vanilla for the front and back of the card, 5 by 3 1/2, You notice I rounded these corners and I sponged it, and I'll sponge the back of this one since I did that, but I think it would have looked just as well without sponging this, just because the base of it is so dark. So you'll need that for the card. Then for the waterfall inside, there's some Very Vanilla. You'll need 3 pieces of 4.5 by 3 1/4. That's 3 at 4.5 by 3 1/4 of vanilla, Very Vanilla cardstock. Then you'll need some solid green cardstock, 1 piece, 4 3/4 by 3 1/2. 2 pieces of red, real red, 4 3/4 by 3 1/2. This is all part of the waterfall. Then there's some designer series paper. This is the one I used for the top. Then I had 3 other pieces. I chose the plaids. You can choose whatever you want. If you order a package of this paper, it'll take about half the package to make this specific mini album. So you need 4 pieces of designer paper. They can be all the same, they can be different. 4 3/4 by 3 1/2. Then there's this magnet strip. So you'll need 2 pieces, 1 for the top, 1 for the bottom. 1 by 3, 1 inch by 3 inch, 2 pieces. I picked the plaids again and I already sponged it. So this is for the inside front part. Now I'm going to go to the inside back cover. This is for the pocket. You need 1 piece of red cardstock, 6 by 2 3/4, and we're going to notch it at 3 inches over here before we insert it. Then a piece of designer series paper that's going to go on top of it, 5 3/4 by 2 1/2, and we're going to notch it at 2 7/8 when we get to that point. Inside the cover, there's this piece, 6 by 3, you just need 1, and it's going to slide inside there, so I made it a little bit wider so it goes past that notch. Then there's this pocket, this folder. For that folder, you'll need 2 pieces of green, garden green, 5 1/4 by 4 1/2, and we're going to round all 4 corners on both pieces. And then Very Vanilla, you'll need 2 pieces of 5 by 4 1/4, and we're going to round all those corners. See, this is how one's going to look, and we're going to adhere it to the folder that we made earlier, like this. I guess I'll need to round that corner too since I rounded those, so I'll do that when we get there. So that's all we need. Oh, and the designer series paper that's going to go, those go on the inside. So the designer series paper is going to go on the outside. For the designer series paper, I picked a pattern in the real red, and you need 2 of them, 5 1/4 by 4 1/2, and you're going to round all the corners. And I will sponge this one as well. So that's for the inside back page. Now we're going to look at these 3 pages. The front of each page will have a piece of designer series paper. I picked a different pattern for all 3 pages. I did red, then green, then red. I alternated. So the front of each page needs 1 piece of designer series paper, 5 3/4 by 4 5/8, and I notched it at 3 inches, which I will do with this piece as well. So that's for the front page. The back of each page, get this out of the way, above the pocket, you'll need 3 pieces of 4 5/8 by 4 1/4. Now whatever color I used on the front, I used the opposite on the back. So you need 3 of those, 4 5/8 by 4 1/4, and we're going to notch those from the top at the left. We're going to notch it at 2 7/8, and then it will slide into the pocket when we adhere it, and we'll line it up with the notch. Then there's the pocket on the back. So the front's just a solid pattern. The back has that pattern at the top, and there's a pocket on the back. And I'm contrasting that with as well. So for this one, I'm going to put the red plaid. I think I need to move that up a little more. So you'll need 3 pieces of 4 1/2 by 2 1/8, and we're going to notch in the center at 2 1/4. Now there's a folder, this folder that goes inside each page, like this. So the folder, you'll need 6 pieces altogether, 2 for each folder, 5 1/2 by 3 1/4, and it's going to go there on each one. Then there's the stripes. I did an accent of stripes just to break it up a little. The stripes are 5 1/2 by 3 1/4. And whatever color of designer paper I used the same color of stripes. 5 1/2 by 3 1/4, you'll need 6 of those. Inside is this very vanilla. Since we have 3 folders, you'll need 6 pieces of 5 1/2 by 3 3/4. And then we're going to round 2 corners on each one, so just the corners are rounded on the outside, not the inside. Then these little pockets, I did the same color as this designer paper, and I did 3 3/4 by 2 inches, and you need 6 of those. 3 3/4 by 2, and we're going to notch the center of those at 1 7/8. So that's what each pocket is going to look like. Once we get all of that done, I will come back and show you how to do the tags and the little journaling cards. Then one of the last finishing touches I do is put a stripe between the pages. And it could be any kind of designer series paper. I just chose stripes for this particular one. When I show you my other samples, you'll see I used a different paper. So you need 4 pieces. And those measure 6 inches by 3/8 inch. 6 by 3/8, and you need 4. And that's one of the very last things I do for this book. I usually wait until the end to do the outside. In case I get glue or anything on my surface, I don't want to be messed up. So I usually start on the inside, and we're going to start in the inside back cover. So I'm going to take these pieces, and I'll repeat the sizes in case you're doing this as you go. So for the back cover, we're going to look for the piece that goes in here. For inside back cover, this piece is 6 by 3. I've already sponged 3 sides of it with the garden green. I'm going to make sure it slides in easily, so when I put my glue on there, I don't have to worry that it's too big. I just need to get the right angle. Okay, so I'm going to kind of decide when I glue it where it's going to go. And I want it just about right there, like 1/8 of an inch from this score line. So I'm going to put some glue on the back of it. I don't want to get too close to the part that's going to go under, because if it slides out, it'll be under that pocket and it'll be hard to get out. So I just want to get it towards the outside edges. Okay, I'm going to slide it in there. Make sure it's straight with that 1/8 inch from that score line. And then press it down. Looks good. And if you need to, you can grab your bone folder and press it down more inside there. Now for the top of this pocket, I'm going to do the red and then the green. And the red is going to be notched at 3 inches. And just like I did with the mini album itself, I'm going to use my envelope punch board. 3 inches. And then this piece that's going to go on top, I'm going to make sure it's on the left of my design. It's going to be 2 7/8 inch on the left. Now I'm going to glue this in the center. I feel like there's a shadow there. I'm sorry about that. No matter how I turn that light, it seems like there's a shadow. So I'm centering this. And then before I apply my glue, I'm just going to look at it as I place it. Then I put some glue and attach it. Now we'll go ahead and do that little folder that goes on the inside. We'd already made it. So now we're just going to put some cardstock on it. We're going to put this one, this is going to go on the inside. So I'm going to go ahead and, since I rounded those corners, and I noticed the one I did for my other sample, those are rounded. So I'm going to go ahead and round this last corner. I almost used the wrong side. And so this is going to go on the inside. While I had that out, I should have rounded these. I'll go ahead and round all these corners. And after I round the corner on this one, I'm going to sponge it with my real red. When I sponge this, I basically just want to get a dark outline around it. I don't go all over it. Everyone has their different sponging techniques, so whatever you think looks best. For some reason, my camera had quit working, so what I did with this, I had sponged the edges of the designer series paper and I glued them to the folder, the front and the back, and inside I had glued these, the green with the very vanilla. And then I had gone and done another page and I didn't realize my camera wasn't working, so I'll show you how I did it with this second page. Basically, we do the designer series paper on the front. On the first page I did the red, so the next page I did green. Then the back of the page, there's the pocket. So at the top is designer series paper. That one I did green, so this one I'm doing red. this one. The measurement for this piece is 4 5/8 by 4 1/4, and it's notched at 2 7/8 from the top. So I'm going to go ahead and put some glue on there and adhere this. It's going to slide right inside here. And I'm going to line it up with that notch. And make sure it's about 1/8 of an inch from the top. More or less. Now I can tell I got a little bit of glue here, so I'm going to use my adhesive remover and just get that off there so it's not sticky. Okay. I'm going to use my bone folder to reach in down here and make sure that glue's flattened underneath there. Now I'm going to adhere the pocket. It's going to be a contrasting color. You notice on page 1 I did the red. So on page 2 I'm going to do the green. And that pocket is 4 1/2 by 2 1/8, and it's notched at the top at 2 1/4. Okay, so this is page 2. Now this file folder in page 1, you notice it's got a magnet so it closes. You want to be sure and always use the same folder you started with, because like when I put the magnet there, it may be off a little bit from where I put it here. So I'd made this originally to go with page 2, so it's the one I'm going to decorate and put in page 2. It's going to slide in there like that. So now we're going to go ahead and decorate it. The inside of the folder is going to have the very vanilla cardstock. It's 5 1/2 by 3 3/4, and it's going to be 1 on each side. And since I'm not using a colored cardstock for this folder, I'm going to sponge the edge of this. For the sample I made to show you as we're making this, I did use a colored cardstock for the folder, and you can do that with yours. It's just when I'm making all these ahead of time to decorate, I make them all with the file folder paper. But if you want to, you can make it with cardstock, and that way there's no need to do anything with the edges. So I'm going to go ahead and sponge these green, and the little pockets that go on top of them are going to be red. That way there's more of a contrast. And these little pockets are 3 3/4 by 2, and they're notched at 1 7/8. Once I get this down, then the pockets are going to go on top like that. But I'm going to go ahead and sponge those in garden green. So I'm going to adhere this one to this side. As you notice, the corners are rounded there and here so that they line up with the folder. Then I'll adhere this one. And I'll put my little pockets in. I'm going to put them probably like a little more than 1/4 inch, maybe like 3/8 of an inch from the bottom, and I'll line them up evenly on both sides. Now to adhere these, I'm going to use the 1/8 inch tape, and only on 3 sides, not the top. I'll put this tape really close to all 3 edges. That way there's more room inside the pocket. Okay, so I'm going to peel off the tape. Sorry, peel the paper off the tape. Line it up so it's past that curve towards the bottom left-hand corner. And then I'm going to line this one up as even as I can so it looks like it goes straight across. Okay, so there's the little pockets. Now the outside is going to have designer paper on it. Okay, now I'm going to get the designer paper for the back. It's 5.5 by 3 1/4, and I used red for this one. So the designer paper is going to go there towards the inside, closer to the score line. And I have the corresponding stripes that are going to go on the edges. I've already rounded those corners. Those strips for the stripes are 5.5 by 3/4 inch wide, 5.5 by 3/4. So I'm just going to adhere those. And I do this first, that way I can put the border on top. And I try to make it 1/8 of an inch top and bottom, and 1/8 of an inch from the score line. I feel some adhesive on here, so I'm going to try to get rid of that. Now I'm going to do this one. And same thing, try to leave an 1/8 of an inch border. Then I'm going to adhere my stripes. Okay, so there's a little pocket folder. I'm going to put this one back. This was page 1. This one's page 2. A little bit of adhesive, okay. And now I'm going to do the same thing to page 3 that I did to this page. So I'll just fast forward through that. Okay, there's all 3 pages with their folders inside. Now we're going to do the front inside part. Inside front cover. First thing we're going to do is put that strip that goes up here. Inside front cover, top, 5 inches by 1 5/16. I'm just going to put it even with the top of that and line it up with the sides of this. Now we're going to go ahead and cover our magnetic closure. So I'll get those 2 strips, 1 inch by 3 inch. There's 2 of them. One's going on the front and then one's going underneath. So I'm just going to put glue on these. I got a new bottle of glue and it's coming out kind of fast. So I'm getting a bit messy here. So I'm just going to center it on this closure. make sure that paper goes down over that magnet. I may should put the magnet a little bit lower on this, but it'll still work. There we go. Now on the front of that waterfall, I'm going to put a piece of designer series paper. This is the piece that's 4 3/4 by 3.5, and I'm going to adhere it right into the center of there. I think it might look better. Yeah, that looks good. I'm going to center it on this top tab, this top folder. Now, the one I did earlier, the sample I showed you before we got started, is the same thing. I knew that I was going to have this waterfall, so I used cardstock instead of file folder paper, but you can do whichever. Most of mine will be file folder paper, and then I'll go back and decorate. Then on the other side, I opened up this card. On the other side, I'm going to put red plaid, the same size, 4 3/4 by 3.5. But I'm going to use the red. I'm going to center it right there. Then this next one, I'm going to put a piece of red cardstock like this, 4 3/4 by 3.5, and I'm going to put a piece of Very Vanilla right in the middle of it, 4.5 by 3.25. And I'm going to go back, since I used this cardstock on this one, I notice it looks okay because there's color in between there. Once I get these done, I'm going to go back and I'm going to find a strip to put in there. It may be the same strip I put over here. I'm not sure. I'll think about it. That might be one of the last things I do because I didn't think about that. So now I'm going to get this cardstock, center it on there. And then I'm going to put the Very Vanilla right in the center of that. And it's 4 1/4, 4.5 by 3.25. Then on the back of this, I'm going to put green plaid. That's the 4 3/4 by 3.5. Right up here. And then I'm going to put a piece of green cardstock here, 4 3/4 by 3.5. And I will put a piece of the Very Vanilla, 4.5 by 3 1/4 in the middle of that. Then I'm going to flip it up. I'm going to put my last piece of plaid, 4 3/4 by 3.5. My last piece of solid red cardstock, 4 3/4 by 3.5. And this last piece of Very Vanilla, 4.5 by 3.25 in the center there. So I'm going to go ahead and glue those down. Make sure my magnet's still working. It is, okay. Now I'm going to go and decide what to put in here. I think I'll put maybe a red strip there, a green strip there, and I think this one is okay. But these two feel like they need something else. Okay, I found some scrap paper. So I'm gonna put 4 3/4 by 3/8 there, and another strip 4 3/4 by 3/8 inch there. So I'm gonna glue those down. That makes it look a lot better. There. Now the last thing for this front cover is to do the little folder or the little card that goes inside. Just a little card that has very vanilla on both sides for journaling or a photo. So the green cardstock is 5 1/4 by 3 3/4. I'm going to round those edges. 2 pieces of vanilla, 5 by 3 1/2. I'm going to round those corners, and I'm also going to sponge the edges of this one green. I'm going to adhere one to each side, and that's going to be my little photo card. So this is going to slip right into the pocket behind our waterfall. Now we've got the inside done, except for some embellishments and some tags and cards. So the next thing we're going to do is the outside of our album. Okay, the first thing we're going to do for the cover is make this little portion that has the snow globe in it. So we're going to grab that red cardstock and that designer series paper. One of these and one of these. This one. And we're going to use some dies with this. We're going to use the die set Snow Globe Scenes dies. And I store them on a magnet. We're going to start with this one, the globe. I'm going to center it on this designer series paper, probably about a half inch from the top, maybe a little more. I'm just going to eye it. I'm going to put some removable tape on top of it so it doesn't move, because I'm going to run it through the Big Shot. Center it just the best I can by looking at it. Let me cut it out. Okay, I'm going to take this off. And then I'm going to center this on top of this red cardstock. And I'm going to use my removable tape again just to keep this in place. I'm going to use a pencil, and I'm going to draw the outline of this globe with pencil. Then I'm going to remove the paper. Make sure I can see it, and I can. I'm going to set this aside for just a moment. Now you recall we had a couple of pieces of Very Vanilla. 2 pieces of Very Vanilla. 3 by 2 3/4. One's for a globe and one's for the cottage scene. So I did go ahead and cut out a globe. And I stamped a cottage scene on my other one, and I already colored it. So I'm going to set that here. Now for the globe, we're going to sponge the background because this is going to be underneath this snow globe. So I'm going to use Pool Party, and I'm going to sponge that so it'll be the sky in the background. Grab some paper because it's a little bit messy. I'm going to sponge it with Pool Party. And I'm just going to do little circles all over it until I get it as dark as I want it. And I kind of like the darker sky. It looks kind of wintry. So I think that looks pretty good. Now another piece we had in the pieces for our outside cover was a piece of green cardstock, 2.5 by 2 1/4. And this is for the green trees that go in the background of this globe. So I did go ahead and cut those out with this same set. I used the trees. I'm going to glue these right there on the snow globe. I'm just going to line them up at the bottom of that globe. So I'll put just a little bit of glue on the back. I'm going to do it right towards the bottom, even with the bottom and centered. There we go. So I had shown you this before. I had stamped this cottage scene from Still Scenes stamp set. So I used this little cottage from Still Scenes, and I colored it. I used, and then I ran it through the Big Shot with a die. This die is also part of the Snow Globe Scenes die. And any of these tools or products I'm using, I'm going to go and list on my blog. So if you don't catch it during this video, you can look at my blog and there will be a list. So I colored it and ran it through the Big Shot with the die. And so there's the little piece that's going to go there. And just in case you're wanting to know what colors I used to color it, I did do dark Daffodil Delight for the windows, dark Real Red for the door, light Crumb Cake for the cottage itself, light Smoky Slate for the sidewalk. I used garden green marker for the trees and the shrub. And then these trees that don't have any leaves on them anymore, I used Cajun Craze to outline those. So now I'm going to put some glue there and go ahead and adhere this right on top of that. So this is going to make the background in our snow globe. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to glue this piece into that outline I made with the pencil. And if you've watched any of my other videos, this will look extremely familiar because I made this card in one of my past videos. So if you want a little more in-depth look at it, you can look at that video as well. I made this exact piece as a card front. So I'm gonna just place this and be sure it's gonna line up right. Yes, that's gonna be good. Okay. Now there's two products I'm gonna use to make this snow globe. One's called the Snow Globe Shaker Dome. So that's the last one in that package. I'm gonna use this one, Snow Globe Shaker Dome. And then the other is the Snowflake Sequins. There's snowflakes, circles, all kinds of sparkly things that are gonna go in there. Now this dome has self-adhesive on this side and that side. So the first thing I'm gonna do is peel off the top adhesive and place the card on top of it, like that. So I'm gonna peel this off the top. And then put this card right on top of it. I'm going to start off by lining it up with the bottom. My fingers keep sticking to it, moving it. So like this. And then I'll pick it up and push the rest of it around the dome. I got a little tight there. Let me try it again. I didn't quite get high enough. It's going to be okay though. I'm just going to put a little more sticky because I peeled up some of that paper. Oops. Okay. I need to go a little bit higher, it looks like. Yes, that's a much better fit. Okay. So then I'll just press it around, all the way around. I'm going to test it again before I put any of the sequins on there. Because when I put it on there, it's going to go just like that. Yes, okay. Now I'm going to put some sequins on here, probably about 3 pinches worth or something. Then I will peel this tape off and I'll put glue around the edge of the card. That way it'll stick all the way to this paper. So first I'm going to put some sequins. And these are messy. Try not to scatter them too far. Maybe just a few more. Okay. They kind of stick to you, so try to flick them off and try to scoot those back so I want them in the card. Some of these just don't want to go. See if I can get it back in there. They're so cute, I definitely don't want to lose any of them. Okay. I love these shaker cards. And I thought how cute they would be for a front of one of these mini albums. So, I'm going to put glue around the edge. And I'm going to put a little bit of glue here in these blank areas. And then I'm going to try to take my time and line this up right the first time. Okay. So cute. And I don't worry if any snowflakes get stuck behind the trees or between the tree and the house and stuff, because I just think it makes it look like there's snow all over the place. I love it. Okay. Now, also inside the pieces for the outside cover, we had this gold piece and red piece. They were each 2 3/4 by 1 1/2. One's for this base, the intricate part, and one's for the background. So I did go ahead and cut those. The base and the gold that goes over it. So I'm just going to put little, oops, I found a sequin. Let's see if I can put it over here. I'm going to put little pieces of glue behind here in key areas to make it stick to this red piece. Just in some of the bigger areas, it doesn't have to be all over the whole thing, but just some of the places that have a little bit more space on them. I see a piece I didn't get punched out there. There we go. And if I'm doing a lot of these, I will just go and squirt some glue on a piece of cardstock and use a toothpick to apply this. That way it's a little thinner as I'm applying it. Okay, I think that should do it. So now I'm going to adhere it to the red cardstock. And then I'm going to use dimensionals to pop this up a little bit, and I'm going to put it right under that globe. I'm going to peel off all the little papers on the back of the dimensionals. And then I'm going to stick it right under the snow globe. See how perfect that looks? So cute. Okay. Now, we're going to have the little greeting thing. I don't know if it's considered a greeting, but... So I stamped this, as shown you earlier. I had gotten the, which stamp set? I got this from Christmas Bliss. And this tag is 3 3/4 by 1 1/4. Now on this one I had used the opposite of the corner rounder, but I was gonna try a different design with this one. I'm not crazy about that one, it's okay. But I thought I would try this one. This punch has 3 different things. I use this when I make the tags. And I thought we'd see how that looks for the corner. Let me see. I think it goes in like this. Oh, yeah, I'll see though. Once you get 2 corners, this paper may not be long enough. We'll see. I should have tested it before I did this. Oh, that doesn't look bad at all. Okay, good. So put that in as far as it'll go. And now I'll do the other side. Very cute. I like that so much better. I'm glad it worked. I should have tested it first, but I'm glad it worked. I'm going to go ahead and sponge the edges of this in garden green. There. Now I'm going to use my dimensionals. I'm going to pop this up under this. Yeah, I like that so much better. Okay. Take the paper off of these and pop it up right under that snow globe for the cover. Okay. Now we're going to, I believe we put the stripes on first. So we're going to find the stripes that go on the album cover. These are 1 inch by 6 inches. There's one for the front, one for the back. And I'm going to glue it about right there, maybe 1/8 of an inch on the top, bottom, and left. So this is the front. And I'm also going to put one on the back. And I'm going to put it close to the spine. So when it opens, it's like that. Then while we're here, I think I'm going to go ahead and glue that spine piece on, that green, those green stripes. This piece is 6 1/8 by 1 3/8. And we're going to glue it right there in the center. Now you noticed on this one, I had this lamp post. This die set comes from a set called Christmas Lamppost Thinlits dies. So I used this lamp post and this lamp. I cut those out in black. So I went ahead and cut those out. You can just use any scraps you have. I'm going to glue the post right there. Then I traced this shape around some yellow, that's Daffodil Delight paper. And it doesn't have to be perfect. You can see it doesn't look nice on the back, but it's just enough so it looks like there's a light on inside that lamp. And I'm going to glue it right there. So I'm going to go ahead and glue these onto the spine. Try not to get too much glue on that skinny part. Try to be careful. Oops. So I'm just going to center this first as best I can. It helps with those stripes. It kind of helps you get the post a little straighter. Okay, and then I'm going to take more glue and I'm going to glue that right there on top of the pole. Okay, I just think that adds so much to the spine. Okay. Now we're going to go ahead and put the back piece on first because it's flat. This, since it's kind of sticking up, we'll do the back first. And basically, these are the last two pieces. A piece of red cardstock, 6 by 4 1/8. And then the designer series paper, 5 3/4 by 3 7/8. So I'm going to go ahead and glue this. I think I'll glue this onto there first. Might be a little easier. Now I'm going to adhere this right there like that. And then the last piece we're going to glue onto the front. Need to put a little glue on my lamppost there. We're just going to glue it right there. And that's going to be our outside of our mini album. And we're going to line it up on the right hand side, and it'll overlap our stripes a little bit. I'm going to put a few embellishments on the front. Last year I had gotten these Toile Tidings glitter enamel dots. So this part of this set, I'm just glad they have this paper and everything again this year. I'm going to put red ones right there, maybe some of the kind of smaller ones. Right there. And then I'm going to put some green ones here. I'm going to do the gradually getting smaller look. There's the largest one, then the next size. Then the next size. And then the smallest one. Just for a little bit of glittery look on the front. So there's the front. And on the inside, I had to put some of these dots on this little magnet tab. So looks like I did this size. Just dresses it up a little. Okay, now that we've got the book itself done, the album, I'm gonna now show you how to make the tags and the journal cards. Get some of this out of the way. So before we get started on these tags, I just realized I forgot a step to this, and that's these little strips between the pages. So we have 4 of them. They're 6 inches by 3/8 inch. And so I'm just going to glue one between each set of pages. I'm just going to center them there between the pages from top to bottom and sideways. That just really makes a big difference on how this looks. Okay, now we'll work on the tags. I'm going to show you first how I make this tag. You can make however many you want to. I would probably make, at least 3 to 6. You can put them in different pockets throughout your mini album. For this one, you'll need a piece of red cardstock, or green if you want the green background. I made some red and some green. 3 1/4 by 3 7/8 for the tag. You'll need vanilla paper, 3 1/2 by 2 3/4, and designer series paper, same size, 3 1/2 by 2 3/4. Now to cut this tag, I use my Lots of Labels framelits dies. I use the 2 largest ones. For the red paper, or the green, I'm going to tape this with removable tape where my die is right at the edge of that top. Right at the top. And I'm going to run this through my die cutting machine. We'll come up with that. Now the next 2 pieces for the vanilla and the designer paper, I'm going to use the next smaller die. It's next to the largest, but I pulled the 2 largest ones. So the smaller one, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to tape this to where the top of this die is right at the edge of that paper. And I'm going to run it through the die cutting machine. I'm going to do the same thing with this designer series paper. So here's that one, and I'm going to do this one right at the edge. And if you don't have these specific labels, you can just see what kind of labels you have. They have different sizes, and you can probably make something work for some cute labels and tags. So I'm going to run this through my die cutting machine. Okay. Now I'm going to round all my edges. And as you can see, these are going to fit right in the center of this red tag. So I'm going to round my corners first. Then I'm going to glue this on one side and this on the other. So it could be used for a photo, or this could be used for a photo or journaling. So like I say, make however many you want to put in different pockets throughout your mini album. Then this one, I'm going to make it where the green is showing. These would make great gifts for people, especially if you did go ahead and put some photos in there for them before you give it to them. Okay. Then I want the little straight hole thing. I want to put this in the top to hold my ribbon. So this is where that punch is at. So I'm going to put this just straight through, try to keep it even, and punch it. I need to get it a little closer to me. With 3 pieces of paper, it takes a little more strength than I have sometimes. There we go. There. Now I can fit my ribbon through there. I'm going to use this ribbon. It has real red and garden green, and I'm going to use 6 inches. I'm going to loop it through from the back of this long hole. I'm not sure what you call that, but like this. And then I'm also going to tie it one time like this. That just helps it stay on better, and it makes it kind of hang sideways. Then I'm just going to make an angle on my ribbon. So there's how you make those little tags. And one of these I think I will just put in this envelope. And I would definitely make one for, at least for each of your back envelopes. And if you want to, you can put one in there too. Now I'm going to show you how to make the journaling cards. And the journaling cards, I think I had 6 in my other album. I put one there, and then I put one in each of these envelopes inside the folder. And they're so cute. Now these are a little more work. What I did was use my dies. I used my snow globe scene dies. And out of file folders paper, I used the globe itself and this. I cut one of each out. And then I taped them together just like it was a snow globe. So this is my template. Then I get another piece of file folder paper. I put this on top of it. And I use a pencil and I outline around it. Then when I cut it out, I go inside the pencil line. So it's a little bit smaller than the actual size because I'm going to glue stuff to both sides. So this is what I come up with after I cut it out. Then I used this die again, and I cut either 2 red or 2 green, whichever color I'm going to be using for this, for the base. And I used this die, and I used crumb cake for this. Just because I did have the gold on the top. You can use gold if you want to, but I just used something more subtle for my journaling cards. I used crumb cake, so I cut out 2 of those. And I also cut out 2 globes in Very Vanilla. Now, one I've already stamped. That's going to go on one side of my card. And there's another one. I'm going to show you how I stamped these and what stamp set I used. I used this So Inviting. I used these 2 lines, and I used this little decorative thing. If my base is red, I used green for that. And then I used black. I used my Memento Tuxedo Black for the lines. So I'm going to show you how I stamped this on the card. I just got my garden green. And I just stamped this design near the bottom in garden green. Then I get my Tuxedo Black Memento and I stamp my lines. It stamps 2 lines at a time. And I just try to make it straight by comparing it to this green one that I just did. So I get it as straight as I can. And then I do 2 more lines and I line it up with that first one. And you do both sides. I've already done this one side, so that way you can journal on both sides of your little journaling card. So now I'm going to attach the globes to this card that I cut out from file folders. Now you could just punch these and tape them and do it on that if you want to, but I wanted it to be a little bit smaller, just so none of the edges would show. So I'm going to glue one side here, one side there. And I make sure that none of my outline is showing. Then I glue one to the other side. And I want these to line up together. There we go. Now on these, let me see how it's going to look. If I left enough space, yeah. I'm going to go ahead and glue this crumb cake onto each of these 2 pieces. I'm just going to put little pieces of dots, just like I did earlier with the gold one. It doesn't have to cover every piece of this, but just some key places that will hold it down. I'm going to do it to both of these pieces. One's going to be on the front, one's going to be on the back. Okay, now you're just going to glue these onto this base. Oh, I see another thing I did too. Let me do this first. I sponged the outside of this snow globe with the same color as this. So I'm going to sponge the outside of that in garden green. Now I'm going to glue the base on there. And then I do the other side. So it's a little bit of work putting these together, but I think it looks really good with this mini album with the whole snow globe theme. So there's a journaling card. I would make some with red bases, some with green bases, and then I'd put red in there and then black lines and sponge the outside. So this is your the mini album, and I would put a journaling card here. I would put one here, plus another tag. I'd put a tag here, and a journaling card, and I would also put a journaling card in there. I do have one more little tag you can make if you want a little variety, because you've got this card, you got the tag, you got the journaling card. There's one more little card that would be really cute for some of these pockets. It won't take very long at all. You would use red or green, whatever color you want, of cardstock, 4.5 by 3.5, vanilla 4 1/4 by 3 1/4, and a contrasting designer paper 4 1/4 by 3 1/4. So go ahead and round all the edges. Or the corners, round all the corners. And this is just if you want a little more variety of inserts for your pockets. We're going to glue this to one side. This to the other side. So this is just one more photo/journal option, and you can even make some of these smaller if you like. Just change your measurements. And this can go in some of your pockets, wherever you'd like it. It can go there if you want. So I hope this video was helpful and it was easy to understand, and you'll be able to make your own mini album. These are so much fun to make, and this is one of the simpler patterns, type of patterns that I've seen. And I did create this one myself with the sizes. I really liked a little bit of a smaller size. I am going to post another video just to show you these albums. I will just show you each page and the inserts, just to give you an idea of other ideas how to make your mini albums. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed it.